Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Jalen and Juicy. We're going to be doing our LSU basketball preview here, talking about the men and women's basketball team here. So far, LSU men's basketball is 2-0 in the SEC. Juicy, what you have to think about this start to the SEC season for the LSU Tigers conference?
It's a nice start. It's a nice start for the Tigers. You know, they've shown a little bit more fight than last year already. I think they've already done better than last year, but you know, we haven't really gotten to the. We talked about this before the show. We haven't really got to the heart of the schedule yet for LSU. I mean, they got this Auburn game looming over them that we're gonna find out a lot about. But you know, Jordan Wright, and Will Baker have been scoring a lot for them, doing a lot. I mean, they've been. How can you say that? I guess so far they've been rolling. I mean, it's about to really see what they're about, though. So I kind of want to hold my thoughts a little bit until I see these next few games play out, though. Then I might have a better opinion of it.
All right. Jalen, we're getting to the heart of that LSU schedule here. What do you think about LSU so far this year?
Yeah, they're 2-0 in SEC play, which are off to a great start. They won 4 straight games. I mean, I think one of the biggest things in terms of what LSU is doing, I think Jalen Cook, the point guard, and many don't know, who started at LSU, transferred to Tulane, and then went back to LSU. But then the NCAA did something with the transfer process, saying he couldn't play, and then they had to go to court. And it's so much that went into it. But Jalen Cook is a big piece for this LSU team, for Matt McMahon's team. And I think being a true point guard as he is, he's able to lead the Tigers. And it's not his scoring that makes the Tigers not the best team in the SEC, but a better team than they were from the beginning of the year. It's the assists that he's doing. It's his leadership, the adversity his team faced at the beginning of the year, where they barely were a team at the beginning of the year. And now they're figuring things out, and they're figuring things out at the right moment in SEC play. And I think it's great so far. I think they have Auburn coming up on the road. Auburn's top 20 team in the nation. Only lost 2 games all year. If LSU could go to Auburn and beat Bruce Pearl, that puts LSU right up there as a top team in the SEC. I would be scared if I'm these other SEC teams and the Tigers could make a run. So I think it's looking good so far for LSU men's basketball. You got to keep it up.
I reserve my thought.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, like, with the way LSU their last game against Vanderbilt, I think one thing with LSU this year was they convert a lot of their free throw shots. The fundamental stuff is definitely becoming a lot more apparent with, Trey Hannibal is getting some playing time, being that 6th man coming off the bench for them in this past game against Vanderbilt here. During that game, LSU shot for the game from the floor. They shot 42.2%. Didn't really do great beyond the arc at 3-point. The 3-point shooting percent was only at 18.8. They were at 22%. So they can just get better at shooting beyond the arc. Make it more consistent here. If you're going to look more back at the game before that's in their first SEC game, what was against Texas A&M. If you look at those numbers there, they didn't shoot very well beyond the arc in that game either here. So, I mean, LSU only shot 17.9% 3-point line when they went on the road against the Aggies. So if they can get, like, the last 2 games, they haven't shot really well beyond the arc. If they can get that 3-point shot landing more, it's going to have the defenses go out to the wings and start trying to, like, cover these guys on the arc side. That way you can dump it inside and get your big man in there doing rotations and stuff and just getting into the bucket and making those
LSU could be a problem in the SEC.
I mean, we're, like you said earlier, Juicy, you have Auburn coming up, and that's definitely part of their schedule here. So looking at what has happened so far, you got Auburn. You go on the road against Auburn. Auburn has an RPI of 15. Ole Miss has an RPI of 14. Then you go You're at home against Texas A&M, but Ole Miss, you ain't got to go on the road. You're at home against Ole Miss, home against Texas A&M, then you go on the road against Georgia. So looking at these next two teams with RPIs of 14 and 15 here. So if you look at LSU's quadrant record here, so quadrant one, they're at 500. So they have quality wins against tough competition. They're about 500. So they might split this here against Auburn and Ole Miss is what the data's kind of like suggesting here. Let me see what the predicted results say though.
I
So
hope
I'm
they do. I'd
expecting
be
them to.
impressed if they did.
I think they could split both those games here from what I'm seeing, but let's see what the predictor has to go with it here. So the prediction for them is, oh, it's got them splitting it. Okay, interesting. Got them losing to Auburn, which I was going to pick them losing to Auburn anyway. I was thinking maybe Ole Miss was the more winnable game. Got them beating Ole Miss 70 to 68. Then it's got them beating Texas A&M 70 to 69. Georgia got them losing. Got them losing to Alabama. Got them losing to Arkansas. Looks like it's like a skid of like losses. It's got them losing every single game up until Georgia on February 27th. Now, there's a lot of basketball to be played here, and I think it's very factoring RPI heavy at that point. It's got LSU finishing 15 and 16, having them in a conference record of 7 and 11. I think that's a little low, though. I don't think that's, but based on what the numbers I'm seeing here, the predicted quadrant records here, it hasn't won at 8 in quadrant one, which isn't not even that yet anyway. So I'm not really buying the predicted record on this one too much here, but we'll see how it goes. I got them losing to Auburn. I got them beating Ole Miss. I just think they need to shoot better from beyond the arc to really give the defenses like something to really worry about outside there. What you think, Juicy?
I agree with you, man. I was gonna say that thing. The predictor's not really like factoring in like injuries or like momentum. Basketball is like football. It's a game of momentum a lot too, because once those teams get rolling, they can go on a run quick, like 20-0 run, whatever. I mean, it's fun to look at that predictor, but I do agree. I think they're gonna. I do agree. I think they're gonna split. I think they'll lose to Auburn. I think they'll actually beat Ole Miss.
All
So
right.
that's me.
Okay. Taylor, what you think about the upcoming games for LSU and what your prediction is?
Yeah, so I do. I like just like both of y'all said. I think they will lose to Auburn, but I think it'll be closer than we expected. I think the next game at home against Ole Miss, I think they'll get the job done. And then moving forward, an A&M team they already beat earlier in the year, they'll go against them. And then the Georgia team's only lost 3 games. I think they give Georgia a run for their money. I think this LSU team can compete with the best of them. And at the end of the day, when you think about it, every team is trying to beat the team that's always at the top. You know that's Kentucky, those Wildcats. So I think LSU the men's basketball team is in a great spot right now. They need to keep this momentum, keep everything going, and this if they can get this win against Auburn on Saturday, it's only the beginning for how special this team could be.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that one there. But now let's switch gears here a little bit here. Let's talk about LSU women's basketball now. They're doing the best of all the basketball teams we covered this year so far. They're 15 and 1. Um, based on
Not surprising.
yeah, they're dominating it, it seems like so far, killing it this year for sure. Undefeated in SEC play so far at 2 and 0. They're taking on Texas A&M on third tomorrow, and then you got at Auburn on Sunday, then at Alabama here on the next Thursday game. But I don't, like I said, I don't really see much competition for them until you start getting toward Arkansas. Arkansas is 13 and 4. They got a 34 RPI right now. Then they got South Carolina looming right after that. So that RPI of 6 is going to be interesting to see here. LSU's RPI so far is 60. They're not like in that top 10. They're number 7. That's why I don't think their ranking has really went up too much here. But if you're looking at RPI numbers and stuff and their quadrants and stuff, so they're 0 and 1 in quadrant 1 in RPI, 2 and 0 in quadrant 2, 7 and 0 in quadrant 3, and 6 and 0 in quadrant 4. So they only have one loss. That one loss is to Colorado. So Colorado isn't having a bad season themselves. They're 13 and 1, ranked 5 in the country. So I think LSU learned a lot since that first game, though. I think LSU does beat Texas A&M and at Auburn, but if we're gonna look at uh these upcoming games and how they like reviewing back what they did here, so looking at LSU for the game here, they shot 47% from the floor, 61% from 3-point land when they played Ole Miss, 63% on the field free throws. I would have liked them to make more free throws. They won by 11 against Ole Miss. Angel Reese and Haley Van Lith, Michaela Williams, all those players did such a great job,
It
and
took it took some
so far.
it took some gelling, and I know they had some drama earlier in the year with benching Angel Reese and all that, but I think they've grown from all that.
Yeah, I think like whenever you have like I think there's an expectation and maybe some people expect too much out of people right out the gate there. It's competitive. It's a competitive environment. And like, they're trying to do something that has never been done in LSU women's basketball history, and that's repeating as national championship. They won. That was their first time winning a national championship. So everywhere this women's team go, all the eyeballs are on them because all the like off season in during the season, the drama. So their eyeballs are definitely on this team here. So if you look at what they did that game, they shot very well here. So if you look at the game prior to that when they played Missouri, they shot 50% from the floor, 17% from three, 81% from the free throw line. So they did dip in the free throw line. No, they didn't. Yeah, they dipped in that game a little bit here, but they made more threes against Ole Miss. So if they can just make those threes here, I'm 61% from shooting threes, really amazing. So if you look at like Michaela Williams was shot 4 for 5 last game. Haley Van Lith 2 for 4. That's kind of the thing that you look for here. So we'll see what happens here. Jalen, what you think about LSU women's? I think they're going to win both their next 2 games here. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, the women's team is playing terrific. I mean, ever since they lost to Colorado, they've been a different team. I know, like Juicy kind of mentioned, with Angel Reese and the whole situation being away from the team, but they still were able to come together and win games. And Kim Mulkey now has Angel Reese back full time. It's like now they added those pieces with Van Lift and Morrow and a freshman and Michaela Williams who's getting buckets. I mean, I think about her and Juju Watkins out there at USC as the top freshman in all of women's college basketball, but she's out there getting buckets. I think this team has a great chance to repeat. We'll see. It's too early to still think it's too early to tell. They're just getting into SEC play right now. But as far as the games, I think they'll have a good test against a Texas A&M team who's only lost 2 games all year. I think that'll be a big game for them. And then in Auburn on the road, and they'll still be in the state of Alabama going against Alabama. I'm gonna say the women will win all 3 of those games, but I will say this too: they'll all be close. And if it comes down to whoever gets that last possession or whoever can make a big shot, I think Kim Monkey has enough pieces on this LSU squad to pick every single girl in that lineup and say, okay, go out there and get a bucket for your team. Let's go out there and get this win. So I think it's just a great balanced LSU team this year.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it's going to be one of those that you're going to figure out like what's going on, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
with the way LSU, let's look at the predictor. I'm kind of curious to see what it's going to do here. I do think it's still favoring RPI very heavily, which is fine. Let's see what it does here. So, okay, interesting here. So it's got LSU finishing 27-3, being an RPI of 22 in the 80 strength of schedule. So I think South Carolina probably one of these losses if I had to predict them. Yeah, it's got them losing to South Carolina, which is understandable. And a loss to Tennessee, a random loss to Tennessee
Tennessee's
on
pretty
the
good though.
yeah, they're 9-5. It's got them losing 69-70, and that's on the February 25th. Not like it's just a random like I thought they would have maybe put like it's a maybe like Vanderbilt or somebody because Vanderbilt looks like they're 15-1, so that's why I was wondering like okay who that third loss was gonna be, but it's got them like that right now, which that will give you a good seed in the NCAA tournament. Um, I don't know if they'll be a number 1 seed with this record here, but it just depends on where they finish at. 27-3 is nothing you know, be kind of mean about here or like criticize them about, but I think LSU,
It's a
I think
long
they'll,
season.
yeah, it's a long season. We still got a lot of basketball to play. So if they can keep doing what they're doing, I think they'll end up winning this. I think they'll beat Alabama. I do think that the predictor got to beating Arkansas too, which I can see happening very well. They got them at home. The good thing for LSU is that first matchup against South Carolina will be at the Pete Maravich Center. So that is something that will help them out, basically. So I think that's something we got to look forward to, and I think they'll end up, winning these next two games for sure, and we'll save those other
Would
games for
would it
next week's.
would it surprise y'all if LSU if the women win out? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
I don't think it would really surprise me too much. They have a lot of talent on this team, a lot of depth, 6, 7 man coming up and make plays for them. So I think they're loaded. I think anything less than a Final Four is a disappointment. I will literally go out and say I think anything less than a Final Four for LSU women's basketball will be a disappointment this year.
I agree.
I agree with that.
I think if you don't get to the Final Four, everybody kind of like looks at it like, okay, because you did all those moves and you brought all this star power in, you got to make it, you got to capitalize and you got to gel together, and that's just kind of what
They
basketball
added.
is. Just together.
We can't forget about Anisha Edwards too. They added her as well from the
Yeah.
transfer.
All right. So, I just think this LSU team, I think they're looking really good here, and we'll see what happens as we go into the next week and see where we're at that point. But thank you for tuning into the Fishbowl Radio. You have a great, wonderful night. See you here next time here on the Fishbowl Radio.